This is making a weird noise. I don't know what that is. Okay. And the second one was because I was kind of... A lot of these are while I'm driving. I was telling them. I was speaking to my phone. So right after Charlottesville, I think a lot of people thought racism didn't exist. I think many of us know it exists. So this was after that. I want to write a piece about resistance, about fighting, about pushing back, but this is all that I could think of, because in these times what we need is more of a eulogy. What we need is more of a reality. What we need is a truth. My truth is that there is a racism in the streets. My truth is that many of you don't realize there is a racism in the streets. Every morning I wake up and I face it, and maybe you do too. And maybe you're colorblind, but there is a racism in the streets. Every night when I drive home, I take a different path because I'm tired of being followed. There is a racism in the streets. I'm tired of checking my mail, and I'm scared of checking my mail because there is a racism in the streets. I'm tired of feeling a chill go through my spine every time the doorbell rings because I haven't had the guts to put my liberal inhibitions aside and go buy a gun because there is racism in the streets. I'm tired of having to dress the part and look the part when they get to speed through all these parts. There is a racism in the streets. I'm tired of being second-guessed and being gaslit away from my truth and from my reality because there is a racism in the streets. Now all of you here today, maybe you do know there is a racism in the streets. And maybe you don't know, and maybe this is the first time. Maybe what you saw in the news the other day was a health problem, or maybe it was a thanks, or maybe it was a zealous, emotional kind of thing like the type you get at a football game. But let me be honest with you. The chant, "We will not be replaced," strikes to the very soul of their fear, to the very fear of what is happening because there is a racism in the streets. There is a phobia there, and their fears are our own uprising. Not as brown people, not as black people, or red or yellow, or even a white people, but rather as a diverse people. This was a test unto us which we have failed decade after decade for centuries, and it is our generation that will decide whether to keep the hate or whether to finally exhaust the hatred in their souls, because there is a racism in the streets. This is the last breath before we unite. This is the moment you've all been looking for and studying. When you wonder what you would have done during the civil rights movement, ask yourselves what you're doing right now. That's what you would have done. So let me close by telling you a sad truth and by affirming the reality that there is a racism in the streets.